What a fun way to start. I mean, wow. I'm like, yes, we're dancing. It's so much fun, right?
Love it.
I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it so much. How are you doing, Rebecca?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, are you back to driving this week?
We don't start school until September up
Oh,
here.
you told me that already. Yeah. We are in Teitzei this week, and it's Deuteronomy 21:10 through 25:19. I am loving the Isaiah portion, Isaiah 54:1 through 10. I kind of hung out in there for a little bit this week. So encourage everybody, hop in there, read it. And the thing for this is like, what does love look like? And I feel like this is like First Corinthians 13 in action. Like we're really going to see First Corinthians 13. This is, we can say, oh, love, but this is kind of what love really does look like. And love really has everything to do with it, right?
I love that you say that because it really highlights the fact we were talking about this in our Bible study class this week because we're in Romans 9, and we were talking about the fact that Hebrew is an action language.
Mm.
So I think in modern society, I'll just put it generally like that, we've really like contorted and kind of twisted the idea of love and hate and all this kind of stuff. And Hebrew is such an action driven language. It's totally action driven. So if
Yep.
you say that you love, you do it through actions, not just through words. Because words,
Absolutely.
in Spanish, we say the wind takes the words, so that they don't have any meaning. It's the actions that prove.
Yeah. Your actions are speaking so loud I can't hear you. Right. So we're gonna hop into one part that I about, when someone's ox is in a ditch, you need to go help them get it out. And I was really like, well, what does that mean? Because most of us here, tell me if you own an ox. Like, I need to know. I need to be your friend because I want to know someone who has an ox. But I'm like, Father, what does that mean now? And for me this year, he was like, an ox was something that brought provision. It was something that helped you work. And I'm just going to do a shameless plug right now because one of our team members we were giggling and saying her little laptop is holding on by paper clips and duct tape. And so we're doing a fundraiser to get another laptop for the Ruta Cafe for her to be able to use. And so if you guys go on any of the places, I'll go find it before we leave, but we are doing this shirt. You can find it on Band. You can find it. We've read it. You can get it in a t-shirt form for girls, guys. You can go and see all the different designs, but I fought the law and the law won. So we thought it was kind of funny. So you can get a hoodie, you have t-shirts. It's kind of fun for, Sukkot, right? I think that's fun. My husband was excited. He wanted it. And I think it's kind of funny because Sydney's husband is in law enforcement. He is he's this
Love it.
kind of, so we thought it was kind of funny. It was apropos for her. And then I have something super important to share with all of you. This is Hannah, everyone. This is Hannah, sweet baby girl. She's our new addition to our family because we needed to have, we had to have a mascot since our sweet Gracie went to run around streets of gold. She can hoover those streets and look for crumbs like she did at our house. But I got Hannah right after Surge. We were at the Surge conference and it was a really sweet story. Yes, horsey girl. A sweet, sweet story. She was one of the ladies came out to my table and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear about Gracie. And she was like crying and I was trying not to cry. And then she was like, my sister raises Boston Terriers if you ever want another one. Long story short, she only had boys. And then I reached out to her and she said, I do have a little girl. My sister told me your story. I was keeping her for me, but I'll let you get her. So I was praying about it while we were there. And I'm like, Lord, you know the beginning from the end. You know if this is going to be too stressful. You know all the things before we even jump into this commitment of a puppy. And he just spoke to my heart and he said, you'll call her Hannah. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we went that night to, we did Shabbat together, Dr. Deb, Miriam, myself, Misty, who else was in the room with us? Elisa and Kat. We were all in there did challah. We did our prayers. And I told them about her. And they said, well, you do need a new mascot for the books. And I said, but we, they're like, but you can't call her Gracie. So what are you going to do? I said, well, God told me to call her Hannah. And they're like, well, you do know Hannah means grace. And so I'm like, so this is little Miss, she's Grace too, Hannah. So she's precious and the holy terror, all wrapped up in one cute little bow. So this is her cute when she is sleepy. So I'm going to put her back down. Let her do that thing.
So
Yeah, her's a mess. So thanks everyone for all the love on that. It's been fun. How's your week going, Rebecca?
really good.
Is it?
Really good. Yeah, which is a good thing. So
It's a good week. It's a good week. So this portion says when you go out. And I like that the first part of it is like when you go out to war, machena, guard yourself. And then later we're going to see when you go out of the camp, machene. So then it's like just reminding us in this portion, it's funny because then we're going to talk about, this is all about love. Well, how do you guard yourself? You guard yourself with love. How do you guard yourself against your enemy? With love. How do you guard yourself when you're leaving the camp, when you're leaving your home? With love. This is how you guard yourself, is by walking in these statutes that everyone else isn't doing, because I'm going to fight for you. I just need you to do these things, right? Yeah. And we're ordered. It says, if you don't, it's important that you secure yourself, because if you don't, you don't want to be scattered and vulnerable, but you want to be ordered and in unity. And again, what makes you not be scattered and vulnerable? What keeps us in unity? Oh wait, it's love. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
I love the fact that God is giving all of these ordinances and he's giving all these teachings. And it's like, I'm going to do my part, but for me to do my part, I need you to do your part. And your part is just to follow what I'm saying, even if it's something small, because I'm going to take care of you. And one of the things, it's almost like, I just need you to be balanced. Everything in this portion is about being balanced. You're not supposed to take more than what's yours, and you're not supposed to take like it's supposed to be balanced, because in that there's going to be enough for everyone.
Yes.
Which I really like.
And I mean, I understand, like we talk about like, different types of political systems, and there's some that are like, wow, this could really work. But unfortunately, God isn't the center of it. Whereas this system, God's the center of it. And he's the one who's bringing unity, and he's the one fighting. It's not some, communism, or it's actually, it seems like it when you're reading it, like the way they do everything, we're all going to work together and we're all going to make sure everyone's okay. You're going to hear that in a lot of political agendas in other ways, but this is different. This isn't like that. This actually works, right?
Yeah.
So
it really depends on each one of us doing our part.
Absolutely. So before we get going though, I'm doing these little shelf indulgent moments that I'm sharing some books that I want to tell you guys. It's kind of cool because Gail's second book, right? Through Ancient Eyes, her Exodus book is out. And I mean, we're getting ready to start over, right? So go get ready so you have your stuff. And you have Genesis, and then now she has Exodus. Those of you that are in the Ruta Cafe, you know that she has her Parsha points, which are very similar to these, but these are expounded. So if you're like, well, I already have that, I've read the Parsha points, I'm going to tell you that she was even talking to me yesterday about this. She goes, I'm evolving in these because they're becoming so personal, and they're becoming new and exciting. So I'm excited. She's working on Leviticus right now. She wants to get them all out. So as we're going this year, she has them coming out. Super important too is Valerie Moody's The Feast of Adonai. Can I just say, most of you guys, I love this because it's in a spiral. You go to whatever feast we're on and you're like, okay, well, here we are, we're Feast of Weeks. We're going to go through, but right now, as we're getting started High Holy Days, especially if this is new to you, or especially if you're wanting a new insights, she goes through and reads the story of actually what the word says. She talks about celebrating it. You get recipes. She tells you why. I mean, really be a great study you could do with your family. So there's that. And I have one more. Since we're in the month of Elul and the king is in the field, this is really precious. Did you get this last year, Rebecca?
No, I got another. They ran out so fast of stuff that I got another one.
This is the one I got from last year. This is 21 Days of Devotional by our friend Hulda. And it's humbled in his presence. They're super short, sweet ones. They're like a page. They're super quick and fast, or two. But I am loving this little devotional, something super quick in the mornings or evenings before you go to bed, but it's meeting Yahweh in the threshing floor. Isn't that sweet? Especially this time of year. So again, for a little gift, I think it's like $8 on Amazon, maybe $7. I know there's 7 at Surge. All of her books are $7. So I feel like they're 8 on Amazon. But I mean, send this to somebody. Great gift. And again, it's about, we're talking about helping people with the oxes in the ditch. If they're not able to make money because their ox is in a ditch, you help them get a computer. That's what you do. It's what we're supposed to do. That's our oxes, and we support each other.
One thing that we're going to hit later on is that it even talks about if you leave, like if a sheep gets left in the field, you don't go back to get it. Leave it for the sojourner, leave it for because there is enough. That was the thing that God kind of like highlighted to me. You will have enough, but to take care of everybody else, you have to be willing to just be satisfied with what I'm giving you, kind of a thing.
Right. Don't we always want more though? We're like more. I want more. That seems like all the time. Yeah.
No, totally.
We start right off the bat on this one with when we understand when they would go to war, part of the plunder is women, right? Yes. They would bring back women and children often, unless there's certain times when he says, don't kill everybody. That happens. And then they didn't, and they had problems. Moabites. And so there's some problems, but there's other times when they're allowed to take the women and they're allowed to bring in the women and children. And I love that the father here makes a provision for those women. Can you imagine the culture shock?
Definitely.
I mean,
just think about today and then kind of like equate it with back then. If there's culture shock today,
exactly. So I say all the time for us to take a minute and, have a immersion experience in the word. So I want you to think about, what does this woman, like, if you just close your eyes, and I highly recommend, like, put on soaking music, not to conjure up you're not trying to conjure up the Holy Spirit. He doesn't need you to do any of those things. You might need those things to quieten your mind, to get you in the mode, I do, let's just be honest. I might need some assistance. I use an app that I'm hesitant to recommend because it's a Catholic app. So everybody can hang up right now, but it works for me. So there. And the reason I can spit out, I'm mature enough in what I do that I can spit out the bones. But what it does for me is it's guided prayer. And it helps me with the way that my mind is like, it helps me to guide and focus. And today's the celebration of Saint Bartholomew, or, we're celebrating Mary today. I can get past all that. I don't. Yeah. But what I appreciate about it, I did something yesterday, and I shared it. I sent it out in some emails. If you've gotten it, I tried to post it on Facebook, but I'm going to get a little personal here for a minute, because I want you us to do this throughout this chapter. I want you to take time this weekend to do that through this portion. So one of the things it recommended, it has these immersion things, which I really love. And you sit, they're like 18, 20 minutes long. And I'm usually like, okay, let's go. But it makes you wait for the next thing. And it was like a guided imagery of Mary and Martha. And I want to share this experience I had. So it started out and said, do you want an encounter with Yeshua? And if you want an encounter with him, ask him, I want an encounter with you today. And I'm sorry, but that was like, oh yeah, I can ask for that. And so I'm sitting in my chair and it was quiet and my husband wasn't awake yet. And it was so interesting because and the dogs were like, and she was like, crazy. And I just closed my eyes and I was like, oh God, Yeshua, God, send Yeshua now. Yeshua, come now. I need an encounter with you. And it was like I felt his presence, and the dogs instantly calmed down. It was really kind of weird. They just calmed down and laid down and went to sleep. And then I started this immersion thing about, and the one I picked was Mary and Martha. And it was she starts out by saying, pretend you're in the room. You see Mary at, I'm going to say Jesus, because that's Jesus's feet. There's disciples in the room. Martha's working in the kitchen. Where are you at in this room? And I'm like, well, I'm an observer over here in the corner. And then she's like, okay, now go outside. Imagine him coming into the city. It's probably Bethany. Imagine what the houses look like. Don't worry about historical accuracy. Just think about what the houses look like. What does it smell like? And I'm thinking, this is how I tell y'all to like be in these parshas. Is it daytime? Is the sun going down? Do you feel the sun on your face, your hands? What do you smell? What are you hearing? Who's working? What's happening? Is there hustle bustle? Taking the time for an immersive experience. And you could do that with each of these sections. Just starting out with these women, immersive. I'm coming into this camp. I don't know anybody, a city, because they're telling you what to do once you cross over. I'm coming into this camp, this new city with new people. I'm walking in. I can feel like, what does this look like? I'm wearing probably like hoochie coochie outfit and everyone's super cover. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be historically accurate. I just immerse yourself. So anyways, she says, now come back in. Jesus takes his seat. Mary, gets to his thing. Martha's working. The disciples are there. Now, where are you? And I was like, well, now I'm at his feet. And I found myself leaning in, like, what are you saying to her? What are you saying to her? And even though he was talking to her, it was like everyone in the room, I felt like we all felt like we were the most important person in the room. And everybody was fixated on him. And I was but I wanted to hear what he was saying to her. And I'm like, Father, come on, Yeshua, I can't hear you. And this is all in my brain, my mind while this is happening. And then she says, what's Martha doing? And how do you feel about what Martha's doing right now? And what are you feeling like he feels? And it was a different experience, because I was like, I felt like he wasn't agitated with her. It was more, not even disappointed. It was just, I don't even know the word, but it wasn't it was love. It was just love.
Like a
and then I know it was what?
Like a longing, like I wish you were here instead of
right. Yeah, like more like that, but it wasn't negative. It was more like a sad, not disappointed. I hate that, that it wasn't that extreme. And I was surprised that I wasn't agitated and frustrated in this little scenario in my head, because normally if someone's making a bunch of noise and busy and I'm trying to be like, what are you saying? What are you hearing? I would be like, would you shut up? I'm trying to get this, I'm trying to be spiritual here, but in my own little immersion experience, I wasn't frustrated with Martha either. What I found is that Martha had her back to us in this immersion experience in my brain, and that she was so busy doing this stuff. It wasn't that she was busy. It was that she had her back to him, that she was distracted. She could have been busy. I'm seeing Gabrielle right now making her bread and doing her stuff. I can see you up there. And it's okay that she was busy, but she wasn't connecting to him. She could have turned and been doing her stuff and then listening and connecting. But she was, I watch home improvement shows like crazy. You bust down walls. Why do we bust down the wall, Rebecca, to make the kitchen bigger? Why? So when you're working,
interact.
Yeah, you want to be able to interact with everyone in the kitchen. And I think that's what was happening. She wasn't interacting. She was so focused on her things she had to get done. And it wasn't that those weren't important. And I always thought in my mind when I read those, it was just like she had to stop everything. She should have been at the feet. It wasn't that. It was that she was just distracted, right? But in this immersion, what happened is, I'm not going to get into the big, long story, but long story short, I've over my life struggled with feeling like I wasn't chosen. That's the reason I'll say my friendships have to be worth the fight. I need you to care and love me enough that I'm worth the fight, and you don't abandon me because you think that if something happened, I need to be worth the fight to stay, because I have felt most people don't choose me. I had multiple fathers and none of them chose me. I did have a father who chose to adopt me, and but my biological father and then another did not choose me. And the sisters from those relationships don't choose me. They're choosing their biological. They're 100% sisters, and they have said, you're not really our biological sister full 100%. We're only half sisters. So they have split from me. So I don't have, there was that abandonment. So I don't know if that's abandonment issue, whatever. So that is always an issue. And something this week came up where someone shared with me that one of those, that sister who I thought I was closest with my whole life, even though we are distant right now, made the comment, well, I don't have to forgive her because she's not my whole sister. Those same rules don't apply. And I was wounded. So sitting at his feet, just trying to hear what he's saying to Mary, he just looks at me in my little immersion and says, I choose you. And I was a mess. I was just crying and crying, crying. But I asked for an encounter, and I sat in his word, and I went through his experience. And I just wanted to kind of walk that out with you, because I think it's easy for us, maybe we've been doing this a long time, to be like, oh yeah, just get in there. But can you do that with this? These women are coming in, and God loves them so much that he cares about her dignity. He cares about her grieving. She just left everything. It's her family, her culture. And she's now being asked to do things. I have to do what?
And like, if you put yourself in that position, sometimes these women didn't leave more than 5-10 miles radius of where they were.
Mhm.
So it's completely unknown. I know last year when I got the opportunity to go to Surge, and I went to Texas with my mom, and we're in this process where we've been trying to find a house, and we haven't been able to find a house. And I was like, maybe it's Texas. You know, we're hearing that all these prices, low prices of homes, and maybe. And when I got there, I was like, no, it's not Texas. And then I came home, and we've been traveling around here. And when I go 30 minutes or more outside of where I'm at right now, I literally get anxiety, even though I know that there's a better chance that I'm going to find something outside of there than what. So I've been telling God right now, I know I'm asking for a unicorn, but this is what I want, you know, because, and so when I think of the anxiety that I felt, just, and literally it's me wanting to move and do, you know, do something. And the anxiety that I feel of like, oh my God, this is new, this is different, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable. And then I put myself in this woman's shoes where it's everything. And not only just a different place, but you have no support, no family support. Usually you're being pulled out of everything and put into a new situation. So the gravity of that, yeah, definitely you can
And
feel.
we just like skim past this. I'm seriously, you could spend, you think you have, oh, I got to hurry up and get through this whole portion. Why? You have like the rest of your life to come back to this portion every single year. Pick a spot. And it might be, this is the spot where you sit and you just realize how much he cares about women, how
Yeah.
much these poor women are coming in. We've said that part. So then they come in, and why is it, we think, oh my gosh, how mean, they have to shave their heads and da 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 da. I mean, let's just add to the identity crisis here. Why do they have to cut their nails? Why do they have to do, I mean, those are questions you should be asking instead of just skimming through to check the box that you read it.
And all of those things were rituals that they would do for mourning. You know,
Mhm.
it's allowing them the opportunity to mourn. It's giving them
Exactly.
the opportunity to kind of it's almost like a physical representation of putting aside and cutting away everything from my past and choosing whether or not I'm going to move forward, because they did have a choice.
They did.
They did have a choice. It wasn't that they were forced. They were just given the opportunity. But they were given a choice to say, I'm going to put all of this, all of who I was and everything back there is getting put aside, and I'm walking into something new or not. But they were given the space to kind of mentally prepare
Yes.
themselves and kind of walk through all of those feelings.
And he couldn't touch her. There was no sexual intercourse, anything. I mean, if he kept her, it had to be for who she was, not because, oh my gosh, she had the best hair. And oh, you know, I mean, I'm thinking they would have put a probably thing over, and they're going to put coverings on and all that. But she had the space to mourn,
Yes.
to have dignity, and then to have a choice.
I just finished watching, I've been talking about this because it was just such a really, really interesting watch, but I just finished a Turkish novella, and it was about a girl who goes through a process of being raped. And then the whole novella is talking about her restoring herself mentally, physically, and all these, and it really walks through how it's like, it's not about just turning the page or it's a 2-second thing and then let's just go on with life and she gets right. No, it's about this process of taking 2 steps forward and 5 back and walking and kind of, you know, doing all this stuff and everything. And when she goes through this, one of the things that I really noticed so much was the fact that when she was struggling, she would have moments of happiness and then things would happen, you know, she would struggle. whenever she was struggling, her countenance would change so drastically that it almost looked like another actress. And then when she was happy, her face would completely light up and she would literally become beautiful. It was like seeing this physically happen. And so I'm thinking about this process of them shaving their heads and all this kind of stuff and everything. Their count, how much it affects you, it affects everything from the inside all the way out. And God is allowing them this process to go through, you know, and grieve. It's really beautiful, actually, if you think about it. The care
It is. And then when she has she has this choice, if she wants, she can be set free, and he's not allowed to sell her. She is not, even though she's a
commodity.
spoil of war, he couldn't sell her. She's not merchandise.
Yeah.
And he had to treat her with dignity as if she were like a first wife. Like if he chose to keep her, she then becomes grafted in. And isn't this a beautiful picture of our process of coming into Messiah?
Yeah.
Is that we come in, he fought the war, and then he takes us on as a bride, and he gives us the space to grieve and mourn the changes. There's changes. It's going to, even just the change of coming, when you find Yeshua in Torah, and there's a process, I mean, where we don't talk about it often on here, but there's processes. We're mad. We're upset that why didn't someone tell us this? Now my culture shock, these things are changing. What do I have to give up? What do I get to receive? How there's all this things are happening. We get the time and that beautiful space. We're not just merchandise, and we can walk away. If we walk away, the consequences are that we're not in his presence and we're not under the protection of that. We're not in the protection, and if we walk away. So see what I mean? You could literally sit in just this thing, have an immersive experience, and you could ask yourself the questions: how does this relate to me now? How does this relate to my relationship with Yeshua right now? How does all this happen? And you're there, right?
And it just really highlights it. It's really interesting, actually, this parsha, because it talks about, it almost seems like random things. It talks about like if you're donkey or your cattle or whatever. It's about women shaving their head. Like it goes through all these different things, but they all connect, because in all of it, God is saying you can walk and you can experience life and you can go through things. I will be there. I just need you to be I just need you to do your part, because and trust me to do my part.
Yeah.
Trust me that I'm going to take care of you. Trust me that I'm going to be there. Trust me that I'm going to provide, because you will have enough. You will have enough, you know? And so when you see this woman, he's like allowing her to grieve, allowing her to go through this thing. Let her go through her process. Trust me. I will be enough for you at the end of this. You know, it talks about like, if there's a bird with its the baby birds, and it says, you know, send the mother away and then you can have the birds. Don't put her through the trauma of seeing you take her stuff or her chicks and everything, you know, to the eggs. It's caring for the person enough to say, what I give you is going to be enough. Don't take more than what, don't demand that this woman kind of come in and just comply the first day and you just do what you have to do. Let there be space and let there be time, and go through the process, do things in order, because it will be enough. But for you to realize that, you're going to have to trust me to believe that I'm going to let it be enough. In all of these situations, it's like, walk through it, and and sometimes that means refraining from doing things, you know, that you think that you have a right to, or doing. Sometimes it means like walking out and stuff. Whatever it is that you're doing, trust me that I'm telling you to do this. And I'm giving you these commandments because it will be enough. Even though maybe in your mind's eye, it's like, no, you know, I got to do a little bit more. Like Mary, I gotta, Martha, I gotta, you know, there's people here. I gotta take care of them. I gotta do. No,
it's enough.
Trust me, it will be enough.
Yeah.
Just trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, it's not the theme. Well, I have a top on mine. I have up at the top of my Bible, I have a thing, walking out the 10 words. And I think if you spend some time in this, you're going to see, you can kind of make a little note as you're reading through it, maybe, and make a note, like, which one of the words is this? Which of the commandments is this? we have honoring parents. You're going to see this in the bird. You're going to see this with this next section about what are you supposed to do when there's your son, and so you take him out to the gate if he's just like a drunkard and he's rebellious and he's stubborn, and you're supposed to stone him. By the way, I see this every year. I think there isn't no recorded incidents that this ever happened, but I think you're scared enough to know that it could. So you're just like, I was scared just of my mom looking at me the wrong. She could get, my even daughter says the same thing. Mom, you just looked at me. And I was like, and did I have to ever beat her? No, but I told her that I could take her out and make another one look just like her. So, she knew, like, the look was, it was scary enough. So no stoning needs to take place,
No, thank God.
it was just enough. It was just enough, so I think that we have to just learn about honoring. There's so much here about honoring life. And that's love, is, do I fully honor life? And we've lost that concept,
Oh,
we've really lost that concept.
yeah, no, definitely. I love that it gives you parameters for how to deal with other people's property, your own property. It says it basically is saying we live in a community, we have to take care of each other. So there's
Yes.
things that I'm gonna have to kind of step in and kind of do, and there's moments where I'm gonna have to step back, and refrain. So it's really this learning how to kind of walk according to what he's saying and not what I'm thinking, because
Mm.
oftentimes we can overdo or not do enough. We can say, oh, well, that's that guy's oxen, that's not mine, I don't care, it's not my problem, and we can kind of shut ourselves off that way, or we can do too much and take too much from somebody else. So it's really all about balance and just thinking about, what am I doing? Is it benefiting myself, but also is it benefiting my neighbor?
Absolutely. It's not, I know we're so it's just not all about me. Like, how is everything I'm doing going to affect? And we kind of have to step in here just quickly and say, this is always a tough section. There's a couple areas we're going to hit you somewhere today, I'm sure. And we don't, in just 1 hour, but we're going to hit you. This portion should hit you somewhere where you're like, what? This makes no sense. You mean I can't wear what? It should challenge you, and it should get you to start asking questions. You should having to take this to the Father and say, what does this mean for me? What are you trying to say here? But I will say, they're saying this is all about honoring your father and your mother. And I always have the messages come to me. So let's hit it now but what if my father was super abusive? What if my mother was super abusive? Sexually abusive? What if this happened, like, and you're telling me I'm supposed to honor them? I'm telling you to honor the position they brought you. God chose that seed, that vessel, to bring you here. That's what you honor. And how do you do that? I present that to the Father. Does it mean you have to forget? Do you have to be in a relationship? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Forgiveness does not mean that I have to still be in a relationship with that person unless he tells me to, because that's happened for some people, I know, but I'm not saying that. Forgiveness means that you are, that you have released them to the Father, and you're asking him to forgive you for judging them how they handled it. Because we're talking about love here, and this is a bigger subject, but love is a choice. Love is a choice. And that means that love means he didn't take the choice away from your abuser. They had a choice. If he stepped in and took the choice away, that's not love. Then you're a robot. But what the part where love goes, where we don't understand, is he was there. He's going to redeem it. He's going to heal you. He's going to work it all for your good. But he couldn't take that choice away from that person. He could be there with you, but he couldn't take the choice away, because love doesn't do that. That would make us robots. This is deeper than today. I'm just saying, take that to the Father. But it's a love we don't understand.
Absolutely. It's like the forgiveness part is really about releasing yourself from that and giving yourself space to heal and to become whole again.
Stop taking the poison, expecting them to die.
It has nothing to do with the other person, in a sense. It's really about, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with the situation?
Right.
How are you going to react? How are you going to move past this, you know, and
Mhm.
and you can't move past it if you're chained to the person in like anger and bitterness. And it's almost like letting the person do that bad thing to you twice. The first time when they did it, and the second time when you're chained to them, because that person continues on with their life, and you're stuck here, you can't move because you're still attached to them in bitterness
Yeah,
and anger. It
right.
really is just a releasing kind of experience when you forgive someone.
Oh, and this is so
And
deep
I
and
say that not
powerful.
easily. I've had
Right. Please don't feel like we're flippantly saying, let it
oh,
go. We're not
mhm.
singing the Frozen theme song here. We're not, this is just, hey. So we
I'm
jump into,
still walking through it. So
it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's something I know he wants to walk with, and but all I can say is he's promised you. We believe the whole thing. He's promised you that he's going to work it for your good.
he is enough.
So lean into that. Father, where were you? How do I work this for my good? Show me. I don't know how. Show me how. So we hop into the next thing because we could be in this for days. The next jumping into is, it says, we talk about not leaving a man hanging on a tree. You can't truly understand Mark, the story in like Mark 15:42 in the Gospels, when it's talking about Joseph bringing the body down, why Yeshua could not be left overnight. You don't have a full understanding of what that means unless you've read this and you understand that it's actually part of a law. Is if you leave that body, if it remains overnight, what it happens, he says, it is a curse of God. If that it curses the land, it defiles the land that God has given you as an inheritance to leave that body overnight. Now, that's another thing you could say, well, why? What does this mean? Yeah, there you go. Knock yourself out.
Do you remember that story with the woman whose children have been hung up, and she's fighting off the animals at night so that they can't come near the body, and she's like, you know, they need to be buried, they need to be given the right of burial, and she's standing in the way there to make sure that that takes place because of this, you know, because this law.
Yes. Even in, I want to just read in Galatians 3. This is, again, you don't understand Galatians 3. I'm going to start reading in verse 12 because you don't understand Galatians 3. You're not going to understand this section in Galatians if you don't understand where it's coming from. It says, however, Torah is not based on trust and faithfulness. On the contrary, the one who does these things shall live by them. Messiah liberated us from Torah's curse, meaning death, not from the Torah, having become a curse for us. For it's written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, in order that through Messiah Yeshua, the blessing of Abraham might come to the Gentiles, so we might receive the promise of the Ruach through trusting faith. Go back. If you don't understand you're going to be like, well, that means we don't have to honor any of these other things anymore, because the Torah's done away with. It's the old law. It's the law of sin and death. It's that he took the death sentence away from what we would have had to pay, and that's why we don't have a temple. That's why we're not doing sacrifices right now, is because something has to die for our sins. And he's saying he took that death sentence away so we don't have to pay that death price. And I find it interesting is that when we say, well, that's done away with. Well, which part? Because you're saying you want to honor the 10 commandments, that's in there. Which part are we taking away? You just decide which things you don't want? Because I mean, that was me. Well, that's the old law that was done away with. Well, which part's done away with? Because it sounds, I would be like, no, you can't kill. Of course you can't do this. I mean, I kind of pick and chose which things in here I wanted to live by. Oh, wait, but if it's old law, it's all old law. You can't just it's all or none. So what are we doing? That's meh. So Galatians, yes.
But it's really just highlighting it. All of the New Testament is really just quoting and highlighting what happened back there and putting it into context.
Right.
Right. Know? So it's not two separate things. It's really expounding on, it's kind of like what Gail did with her book. She's expounding a little bit more, opening it up and relating it to us to let us see it in our context. What does this mean? How do we walk this out?
Right.
We don't have this anymore. We don't have this, what are we going to do?
It was written for us, but not to us. It was written to an ancient Near East people.
Yeah.
It wasn't written to a 2023 people, but it was written for us. So it's our job then to buy the right cereal and get the decoder ring out and try to figure out what this all means. But we are blessed when we do this. We're blessed when we sit and immersively sit in just a little section. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
You know, even the whole section here about not wearing men's clothes. Okay, you can take it however extreme you want. I love all of you. So if you say, this means to me that I can't wear pants, don't then. If you're feeling like the Father is saying, I need you to just wear dresses, and you feel like that's, or I can only wear linen clothes, do that. Do what you feel like he's telling you to do, but don't do it because you're feeling like it's a fence you're going to put around it, or it's because you're going to, I want you to really know why, know your why. And I feel like in this section about the men and women wearing each other's clothing, we're talking about identity. And can't we really visit that now? Can't we really do that right now? There's such an issue. My daughter went to the hospital, and they asked her what was her, what gender did she identify with? What pronouns did she use? And what body parts was she born with? And the nurse was apologetic. Like, I'm so sorry, I have to ask you all these questions. We're having in such a state of an identity crisis that, and the people who are walking that out, our heart should hurt for them. Because that's what this is telling us is if you're wearing, there's an identity issue, and you're not walking in your intended purpose. I was born as a woman, a womb man. I have a womb, and I was born for a certain purpose. And my purpose doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have children, but my purpose is in this form, in this body. And so when I am trying to live in the identity of a man, it doesn't mean I can't have strong characteristics. It doesn't mean I might like to fish, or I might like to hunt, or because I think the church has hurt our men and women in that case too. They're like, well, I must be a man or gay because I like man kind of things. And I must be, because the church says this is how I'm supposed to act. And I kind of like this. And my husband really likes to cook and I don't, or he does the laundry and I don't. Does that mean, no, I think that's where we've gotten a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But let's just spend some time and be like, Father, is there some areas where I'm not operating? I'm wearing things that I'm not supposed to be wearing. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
What am I wearing that I'm not supposed to be putting on? It might not be a man's clothes, but am I trying to put on am I trying to put on some type of a mantle that's wasn't given to me? Am I trying to walk in the calling that wasn't given to me, a purpose that wasn't mine? Yeah. I know who wears the pants in the family. And this could mean a lot of things.
It's an example that we have in scripture where there's a prohibition or a commandment or something that goes so much deeper than what the words are just saying. It's
because we don't know.
Principle.
It's a principle. And they would understand it. Like you tell us things that'll say like the words are in the wind, right? You can say it in Spanish. And if you said it to me, I'd be like, and it would be probably translated, the words are in the wind. I'd be like, oh, that's really pretty. I wouldn't understand the depths, the dimensionality of what you were trying to say, because I'm not from that culture. I don't understand the dimensionality of the language. There would be an issue that I would be having. That's what's happening here. And that's the reason we spend time in this. That's the reason why we go through this process, is so that even we're trying to understand something that was written to someone else. And this is like idiom chock full of idioms. Thank God we do have some idioms in our courses in the Rooted Cafe. But I mean, this is so full of idioms because he spoke to them in things they would understand. Yeah. Right. Brenda put on here, this is the same thing as like David in Saul's armor. He's trying to put his armor on. It's like, it doesn't fit me.
It's not going to work.
This doesn't work for me. I'm really big about women trying to step into leadership. And one of the reasons that we don't step into leadership or aspire to leadership is because we have these behavior conflicts that we think we have to act like a man and put on the man's suit to step into that leadership position. And God's saying, no, you don't. I want you to be who I created you to be and still aspire to that leadership position, but rock it from this body. Yes. From stiletto. You don't have to look like Devil Wears Prada either. Like there's a balance. Be you. Yeah. Be you. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. He didn't mess up in your body. He didn't mess up as who he made you with. There's a confusion talk trying to say go, and this is directly going against this portion of Torah. Yeah. 100%. And I'm not going to compromise in it. it's going against who it's, they're going against who they've been called to be.
An example, when my mother first came to this country, she was part of a very Pentecostal congregation back in Costa Rica. And when she came here, she came to the Northeast that can have pretty severe winters, as opposed to tropical Costa Rica kind of a thing.
Right.
And so she wrote back a letter. It wasn't even she wrote a letter to her pastor from her congregation and said, listen, it's really, really cold here. And she only wore skirts or dresses. She said, would it be okay for me to wear pants because it's so cold? And he wrote back, and his answer was absolutely not, was the kind of thing. And
isn't it funny? It's like, I'm going to take that portion of the old law and this I'm going to say you can't do, but the old law is done away with everywhere else, but you can't wear pants.
So thankfully she got past that. She cut her hair and she wears pants.
Your mom rocks it. Your mom rocks her femininity. And
but that's the thing, that is the danger of not taking the time to read scripture and to determine what it means for us today. Like, correct. How are we going to apply this, and spending time, it's like what you're saying, spending time in the word, spending time with him, spending time in prayer. All of those things help us to be connected to what he has for us in his word. And his word is supposed to bring forth life. It's supposed to bring forth truth. It's supposed to bring forth the ability to be able to walk in your purpose and to be able to kind of face these circumstances that we're going to have in life. But we can't do that if we don't know our scripture, if we're not coming here and taking the time to study like we do on Fridays. And sometimes, we got pretty far today because the past couple of weeks we've gotten like the first couple of verses and oh
my gosh, there's still so much.
Taking that time to do it, is really important.
We have to, maybe this next year we're gonna have to, we're not starting at the beginning, we're starting halfway through because we already started at the beginning, got stuck, so we're gonna not do that. So we continue on. I love it. If you have the Tree of Life version in chapter 22, it's actually titled Love in Practice. So that's what's really beautiful. And we talked about the eggs. We've talked about, if you went to at the homeschool conference, at the after Q&A afterwards, Crystal brought up a sweet thing about the eggs in the nest, and was talking about how, as a parent now, that the enemy can't come after our chicks when we're still hovering over the nest. And I am thinking he broods over us. And this is a universal law. He's saying that we can't be snatched out in front of us. So stand up for those kids, pray over them. It doesn't matter how old they are. You can still brood over those babies in that nest, even though they've taken off flying. I watch, we have lots of birds here, and I've learned so much about their fledglings when they fall out. And I've watched, like, we'll go to do something and the mom and daddy are up on top of the roof. They're somewhere. You don't see them, and then they just start dive bombing you because they're still protecting those babies. And I'm just going to say, it is not too late. This means a whole lot more. We talk about unequally yoking with animals, mixing things. We are so far gone. My husband and I've had a lot of talk about this the last couple of days. We are so far removed from understanding what this means about not planting two different kind of grapes together, seeds together. We're so GMO'd out and mixing things that we don't even know. We're trying to make it seedless, and there's a reason for a seed. I'm sorry. There's a lot we could do in this. There's things about mixing your clothes. People are like, well, okay, we add Lycra and to make it stronger. We're going to make it better. So we're going to add some stuff to it. Mm-hmm. What does that mean in your life? What are you trying to make better that he's saying, stop adding to it? It's enough. The cotton by itself, it's enough. The wool by itself, it's enough. The linen by itself, it's enough. One of the things that it doesn't say in here, but it is scientifically proven that linen has a frequency of healing. Wool has its own frequency as well. When you mix them, it negates that frequency. There is a reason. And he was like, because I said so, because you don't understand the scientific stuff yet, later on they'll publish papers. Those people will get it, but they won't get the other stuff I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, no. And I think this has been coming up. It's so interesting because we have to remember context. This is Moses' final kind of talks and final kind of instructions and final kind of things or whatever. And in the past couple of portions, what we've been seeing is that God is saying, I am enough And if you follow me, you will be satiated. That has been like a big theme. You will be satiated with what I give you. Even if it looks like somebody else has more, so that must mean that they're better off or whatever. That's not the case. You will be satiated and you will have what you need.
Oh, I
You
think Paul
follow me.
said that. I'm happy in a little and I'm happy in a, you just learn. It's where this is where I'm supposed to be. Whew.
You know, this whole
I'm
thing
not
of me,
attached to it.
this whole thing of me wanting a house and everything like that, my social media is like just packed with like looking at homes and different types of homes and everything. And I keep seeing these homes in Texas. There's apps, and let me just preface this by saying
You need to see these in Arkansas is where you need to see them.
I know, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with large homes. I want to preface by saying that there's nothing wrong, but they keep showing these videos of these like mini McMansions kind of things. And I sent it to my friend and I said, is it just me or is that too much?
Yeah.
I said, I
I
don't
get it.
need that.
I get
don't
it.
need all that. I want a home that's cozy, that feels like a home. And I just want to feel like we're not all on top of each other, that we have space to breathe.
Right.
It doesn't have to be this. And I think it kind of goes back to this idea of satiation in him, being happy with what you have in him. He will provide exactly what you need when you need it. That's a yeah, sure, yeah. I will be what I need to be in whatever situation. And that concept, I think, is one that Moses is really trying to drive home, because he's putting up these ideas. Remember, they're still not established as a nation. So when he's
No.
talking about parapets and this and that means that when you have an established home,
Right.
they're in tents and all this.
It's going to be a temptation. You're going to start getting big and big. You're going to have everything and you're going to want more. Like right now, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? I'm just going to be excited to have something to eat other than this. I'm going to be happy to change clothes and not have the same clothes and shoes on.
Yeah.
But when I have a house, and then I mean, I can tell you from living in a big house, I've lived in 4,000 square foot houses. I've lived in a 400 square foot RV. And I can tell you that it's a big difference. And I get so comfortable in that 400-foot RV. I don't need one more thing. I'm so happy. And then you know what? Now I'm in like 2,200 square feet and it is maxed out here. Like I was standing in my closet. I'm going, how did this happen? Isn't it funny that our clothes have their own room? Like most countries would be like, what? Our car has its own room, And I walked into my closet and I was like, this is crazy. Like I had this much space when we lived in Thelma D for like two different times for 3 months each time. She's a teardrop trailer. I had this much closet. It was 1 foot. So this much closet. That's it. And then I had like little spot where I had to pull out little drawer things. That's it. Ladies, that's it. And I was so okay.
I was gonna say, and you
in
didn't
the middle of winter. And I was so okay.
Yeah. And so like there's absolutely nothing wrong with your situation. If you have a lot, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Good for you or whatever. But it's more about this inner feeling of I have what I need, I have enough, and I even have enough to give.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. So going back to that sheep, when you think about their livelihoods and everything, you'd be like, no, if I lost the sheep, I'm going back to get, that's food, that's wool, that's, kind of thing. And God's saying, no, leave it, because there's going to be somebody who needs it way more than you do. And trust me that I'm going to give you more than enough with what you have left. When you do your field, you cut off the corner, you leave the corners. There's going to be somebody that needs it. You need to be, why? And this is the thing, because God expects us to walk out his word so that it is fulfilled, to be his hands and feet on the earth. God is expecting us to be the ones that are going to be the agents of his miracles and everything for somebody else.
Yes.
It's not that he can't do it. It's that he wants us to be participants in it. So when we leave those parts of our field, somebody's going to come along that's so hungry and is like, oh my God, thank God, and going to grab it and be able to do something with it. Somebody's going to come along that sheep and be like, oh my God, this is such a blessing. And they're going to thank God for it. But you're going to be the agent. You may never know. You may never see the person. You may never know. But God wants us to participate in that. And to be able to do that, we have to trust that we have enough of what he's given us.
Yes. I really think that, that's love. And we end it, we could push through, just pushing through, you guys. I, again, will always recommend chapter 24, talking about marriage and divorce. Please get Dr. Robbins Gould's book, Divorce and Remarriage in the Bible. I'm just telling you, it'll be the best $5 you ever spent. Buy 3 and give 2 away, because she truly just is going to explain to you the difference between divorce and the way it's written through the word. It's such a beautiful redemption story, but and I think a salvation story about the law of the husband. But you're going to understand about a writ of divorce and the reason that you had to give a writ of divorce, as opposed to just sending her away and then it's just like you're separated. That's why she's adultery. That's adultery, because you're not legally divorced. It's okay to be legally divorced. There's nothing wrong with it. And you have to have, you want to have reason for that. You can't, and the reason was because you can't just throw women away and then bring them back and marry them again. There was reasons for that. So stop condemning people who are divorced, everybody. Okay. Read the book. So there's that. Usury, that what I have fun with Abraham. I mean, you can go back and see the generations. It's kind of cool, because if you think about in 23 about people excluded from your community, those Moabites, they had to wait. They had to wait for 10 generations. I mean, it's cool when you go back and count. I'm not going to even tell you, go back and count how many till they got to Boaz for him to bring Ruth in. Of course, you could bring women in anyway, but just count the generations, see if there's 10, see if he might be the 11th generation. I don't know, maybe. And then we end up, I'm going to follow up. The last thing, Rebecca, is because it's just going to camp on what you said. It says is about blotting out Amalek. And why? Because Amalek, it says how he happened upon you along the way and attacked those among you in the rear, all the stragglers behind you, when you were tired and you were weary, and he didn't fear God. It's taking care of they came back and they hurt those that were straggling, the people that are the weak, the slower. This is about loving people enough that you're not grabbing. I mean, you're going to blot them out. You blot him out. And he even says, even when he goes back to the Moabites, he says, the reason why God turned that curse and the blessing was because he loves you, and you are never to seek their shalom or welfare all your days. I mean, when people are, well, I have to love everybody. No, you don't. It says not to seek their welfare or shalom all their days. They were trying to curse you. They were trying to hurt you. They were trying to take you out when you were tired and you were weary. And he's saying, you don't have to chase after their shalom and their welfare. That's his job.
Yes.
He'll do that. It's not your job.
To do anything. He's saying, let that be. Put that aside.
Let that be. Put that aside. Don't put energy on it. Do not put energy onto that. It doesn't mean you can bless them from a prayer, but you don't have to chase after them to make them okay. It's not your weed to pull. Yeah. You just take care of you. Fill your cup. And if he tells you to do something, obviously do it. But I'm just going to say, a lot of times we're running around chasing, making everybody okay. And I love that in this portion, he's saying, no, who do you make okay? The widows, the orphans, right? You take care of those. Take care of the strangers, the people who are straggling in the back who might need help. We go back and protect those. We leave the corners of the field for those that might need something, and ask him, what does that mean for me now? Who is in my sphere of influence right now that needs me to protect them? Who needs me to leave something out for them and keep their dignity? How do I do that and not have them eat the bread of shame? But how can I do that for them? Can I have a little job for them? Is there something I can do that they can do, and then they don't eat the bread of shame, but I can actually contribute to their welfare? It didn't say you leave the field and you pile it all up for them and you box it up and you carry it to their house and you leave it at their doorstep. You leave it so they can come work and get the grain. There's a lot to this, and we're done.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then there's next year. So we're going to hop over to our after party. So that's, if you're here on Zoom with us, then you get to hang out with us. We're going to open it up and just all kind of chat for a while. It's not too late if you're watching us live streamed over on Band to hop in with us to do that. And all of you listening later, just know how much we love you. You are so loved. And we just ask for a special blessing over you right now, that as you go about your day, that he will show you how to love better. He will show you who to love. He will show you how to love, and he will show you you are loved.